You check your bank account this morning. Same as yesterday. Nothing changed. The government just announced the economy grew 3% this year. So why does it feel like you're falling behind? Because you are. And the number they're showing you was never designed to tell you that. Every country on Earth has one number. One single score that tells presidents, markets, and newspapers whether the country is doing well or falling apart. That number is GDP, Gross Domestic Product. When it goes up, politicians celebrate. Stock markets rally. News anchors smile and say everything is fine. When it goes down, emergency meetings, panic, crisis. GDP runs the world, and almost nobody stops to ask what it is actually measuring. Because if they did, if they really looked, they would find something that should make every person on Earth furious. Forget everything complicated. Here is GDP in one sentence. GDP is the total amount of money spent in a country in a year. That's it. Every dollar, every purchase, all added up. Now here's where it breaks. Imagine your family has the worst year of your life. Your house floods. You spend everything fixing it. Your mom gets seriously sick. The hospital bills are enormous. Your dad loses his job. He finds 2 low-paying ones just to survive. All of that spending, the repairs, the hospital, the desperate scrambling counts as growth. Your family is broken, stressed, exhausted, poorer than before. But on paper, your family GDP went up. That is not a flaw in the system. That is the system. Here is the example that nobody in power wants you to think about. America's opioid crisis. Over 500,000 people died over roughly 20 years. Pharmaceutical companies sold billions of dollars worth of pills. GDP went up. People got addicted. Treatment centers opened everywhere. GDP went up. People died. Ambulances, funerals, lawsuits worth billions. GDP went up. The single deadliest public health disaster in modern American history was, by the government's own scoreboard, a booming success. The number didn't count the funerals as loss. It counted the spending on funerals as growth. Read that again. Sandra, Cleveland, Ohio, age 47. Sandra had one job for 16 years. Stable, benefits, enough to live on. A machine replaced her. She found 2 part-time jobs. Nights stacking shelves, mornings cleaning offices. No sick days, no insurance, no safety net. If she doesn't show up, she doesn't eat. She works more hours now than she ever did before. She brings home less money. The year her job disappeared, Ohio's GDP went up. The year she started working herself into the ground just to survive, it went up again. Sandra is not in the number as a warning. She is in the number as a success story. GDP cannot see inequality. One person can earn $10 billion, while 1 million people earn almost nothing, and the GDP looks identical to a country where that same money is shared evenly. The number only sees the total. It is completely blind to who actually has it. GDP cannot see your family, every parent who raised a child, every person who sat up all night with a sick parent at home, every neighbor who helped someone after a disaster without asking for payment. None of it counts. Zero. It never appears. But the second you hire a stranger to do those exact same things, it shows up in GDP as growth. The number thinks your grandmother is worthless. It thinks a corporation doing her job for profit is progress. GDP cannot see tomorrow being destroyed. Cut down a forest that took 1,000 years to grow, GDP goes up. Empty a river, strip a hillside, poison a water supply, GDP goes up. We are eating the future alive, and the scoreboard is calling it a win. Here is the thing that matters most. When you measure the wrong thing, you fix the wrong things. If your scoreboard says the economy is healthy, nobody fixes healthcare. Nobody asks why people are working harder and getting poorer. Nobody protects the water or the forests because none of that shows up in the number. The people who are suffering become invisible, and the people in power who are supposed to help, they look at the scoreboard, see green, and go home satisfied. There are better ways to measure. Tools that track health, happiness, fairness, sustainability. They've existed for decades. Economists have built them. Researchers have validated them. No major government uses them because GDP fits in a headline, because GDP can be put on a poster at a campaign rally, Because a number that says everything is growing, even when your rent went up, your wages didn't move, your hours got longer, your parents can't retire, and your friends can't afford children, that number is very useful if you are the one holding the power. So here is the question they hope you never ask. If the economy keeps growing, why does your life keep getting harder? You already know the answer. You just needed someone to say it out loud. Next video. The history of hyperinflation. It always happens slowly, then all at once. In 1921, a loaf of bread in Germany cost 1 mark. 2 years later, the same loaf cost 200 billion marks. People carried cash to the market in wheelbarrows, not because they were rich, because the notes were so worthless, it took a cartful to buy groceries. And the part that should terrify you, it always feels completely fine until the exact second it collapses.